activated.
There's a place at the end of the
GSL Season 1 Code S Daybreak. Live from Free Cup Studio in Seoul, this is the GSL.
We are the Wrecking Crew!
시청자 여러분,
It just does not stop, Artosis. We are back from INnoVation, and we have another wonderful day of the GSL Code S, starting in the round of 16.
Tasteless, I gotta tell you, we're not the only ones back. Zest is back, and the champion of INnoVation in Scarlett is back here as well.
So we need to highlight the schedule changes that are occurring right away. We'll be back on our normal time on Wednesday. Then we have the weekend off. It's Lunar New Year here in Korea. That's one of the biggest holidays all year round, so nobody's working then. We come back at the usual time on Wednesday, and then we have a broadcast on a different day and a different time than we normally ever do. That will be Thursday at 9 p.m.
Yes.
KST. So mark that down. Remind your friends if they're regular watchers, because otherwise they're going to be very confused when they try to come in on Saturday and discover that all the results were already all over Team Liquid and Reddit.
Yes, it's much later than we normally start by like 2.5 hours. So definitely mark your calendars for that. It's a big PvP group that day, of course. Today is such a sick group. It's going to be Scarlett, INnoVation, INnoVation, Zest, and Leenock playing today. Really exciting group. We haven't had a non-Korean player in the GSL Code S round of 16 since INnoVation.
That's right.
That is so long ago.
5.5 years ago or 6 years ago? Is that
Something
correct?
like that. Maybe 2013, I want to say.
좀 아까 전에 인터뷰에서 보니까 이동영 선수가 가장 제격이다라는 이야기를 좀 해줬어요.
이동영님이죠. 16강 올라오시면 저랑 같은 조 될 것 같네요.
빨리 뽑냐 늦게 뽑냐의 차이긴 한데
마치 자석처럼 끌려가서 그대로 끌고
이거는 이왕 이렇게 뽑혔는데 그래도 멋지게 각오 한 말씀 해주셔야죠.
아니 근데 뭐 크게 다른 테란이랑 게임 해보면 다를 거 없더라고요. 제가 잘해진 건 아니겠죠. 왜냐면 저는 많이 쉬었으니까. 여기가 좀 약해지지 않았나. 제가 당연히 스칼렛을 뽑을 거라고 생각하고 그림을 그리셨더라고요. 이미 빈정 상했죠.
이미 엎질러진 물이고 제가 뭐라고 하겠어요.
네.
할 말이 없죠.
이동영 선수가 생각하는 그 범주 안에 주성욱 있습니까?
저를 원하시더라고요, 성욱이.
주성욱이?
네.
동영이가 저 뽑으면 좀 시나리오대로 될 것 같아요.
나한테 오고 형이 스칼렛만 안 뽑으면 돼.
알아.
이제 선택이 또 연달아서 중요해진 거잖아요.
스칼렛이? 와, 주성욱 진짜 뽑았어.
저는 성욱이 형이 스칼렛을 뽑았으면 좋겠어요.
이야.
만약에 성욱이 형이 스칼렛을 안 뽑으면 성욱이 형을 보낼 거예요.
신영이가 스칼렛을 뽑으면 저를 안 보낸다고 하더라고요.
와.
근데 모르겠어요. 저 눈빛이 너무
무서워요. 보낼 수도 있고.
제가 원래 사람을 잘 못 믿는데
못 믿어요.
신영이가 여기서 또 거짓말 쳐버리면 전 평생 사람을 못 믿을 것 같아요.
못 믿을 것 같아요. 자, 이 신영을 믿어야 한다. 손 한번 들어주세요. 믿어야 한다.
믿어야 되면 손을 드는 거죠.
그러면 한 명 믿지 말아라. 와.
모두가 이신영 선수를 신뢰하지 않아요.
네.
Hey, believe INnoVation. Trust him. He's good guy.
유일하게 믿는 건가요?
선택의 순간.
이제 여기서 주성 선수가 누구를 믿느냐를 잘 쓰는 거죠.
믿음에. 자, 시청자 투표. 믿었어요. 일단.
이게 어떻게 결국 이신영을 믿었습니다. 모두가 믿지 않았는데.
저한테는 그 교환 찬스가 있어서 어떻게든 저는 올라갈 수 있는 그림을 그릴 수 있다고 생각합니다.
진짜? 진짜로요?
already packed in here as we have not even started our matches yet today. This is a really interesting group. So many storied players, but I would say that everybody's in a different spot. Well, maybe not INnoVation. INnoVation was consistent. Everybody else in a very different place than they were, I'd say, a year ago.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way to put it, because INnoVation, yeah, he's like always kind of like the best player.
Even if he occasionally falls out early, it's like, he'll be back.
It's whatever. It happens.
Right.
You know, it's a hard game. But yeah, like Leenock, just kind of making some upsets and making it here. Zest has been in very good shape, but did just lose to a laser in IM Pyeongchang, right? So he didn't get a finish that he wanted. He got top 8 when we were looking at Zest as a round of 4, a finals guy, maybe even a champion of that. And then, of course, Scarlett. She just won. She just won a big, important tournament. So she's in fantastic shape, and who knows, maybe we'll get a round of 8 non-Korean player once again.
I think it's very possible Scarlett gets out second place. As you can see, we got Tim Morton in the audience today. He's in charge of StarCraft 2.
Yeah, he is
Welcome
basically the most important man in the whole world. The smartest man. He's ripped, as you can see. I mean, he's fantastic. And I heard through the grapevine he brought some things for us to raffle away at the end of GSL shows.
We've got some goodies down here. So if you're in the audience, do not leave when this is done. We have giveaways, all sorts of cool stuff. A lot. I see. We're getting a shot of it now. See, we weren't lying to you guys.
Oh my God, I wore that T-shirt today.
I have that stuffed probe in my house.
Me too. I do too. I had that backpack, but I gave it to my wife.
I can't blame you. That's a good gift.
Yeah, she loves that.
That means you truly love her.
Yeah.
So do hang around. I believe those gifts are not just for today, but we're actually going to be slowly passing those out as we move on into the season. To what we were talking about earlier, though, who's going to advance? I would say. Now you know what he actually looks like when we cast the games. Now you know.
I actually squat in my chair.
He actually squats like he's a samurai.
It's really weird. I don't
during
know.
the games. To what we were saying earlier about who might actually move on, I think, as much of a fan as I am of Scarlett, I think she'll get out second, INnoVation probably first. But if Scarlett gets out first, then I guess, of course, I shouldn't be that surprised, considering she just dominated an Intel Extreme Masters beating SOS, which is no small feat.
Well, she beat a bunch of Zergs and then Protoss to get out of there. She did take out time as well and looked good doing it. But, you know, INnoVation is a different beast. We'll see about that. Of course, he wasn't traveling, playing in tournaments during that time, so he had plenty of time to practice a lot, and having 2 Zergs in his group, I'm sure he spent a good amount of time on that. So, I don't know. This is a very hard group to predict. I think that Leenock getting out is a bit of a stretch. He would have to, basically the way I see for Leenock is he would have to upset Zest to have a chance and then beat Scarlett, right? Like, the ZVZ I see is it can happen, right? Like, Leenock's ZVZ is quite strong. He beat Solar to get to this round, so there's a small chance, but other than that, I'm looking at it and saying, okay, I think INnoVation should certainly get out, but I'm not really sure. You know, Zest and Scarlett definitely are killers.
INnoVation consistently argued to be the best player in the world, and part of that is backed up by how consistent he is. He brings games that look impeccable. It looks like it's played by some kind of a supercomputer. Quite the opposite of SOS, who is somebody else who has consistently argued as the very best of the best. I'm curious. I know that I'm getting maybe a little bit ahead of myself, but if Scarlett and INnoVation do face off, what that's going to look like. Because if Scarlett can take out both SOS and INnoVation, 2 very different players, within the same week, that's crazy. But speaking of this match specifically, Leenock, there's no other way to put it. He is the underdog in this group, despite the fact that he is probably, correct me if I'm wrong here, I think he's actually been in the GSL the longest. In this
might
group.
Actually be right.
I am 99%
well, in
sure
this
of that.
group, you
For
are
sure.
right, but it might be amongst all players as well. Like, he was in season 1 or 2.
It would either be Leenock or Alive or Gumiho, I think.
I believe Leenock actually wins that. He was in season 1 or 2,
right?
and I'm trying to remember which one, but he certainly was. He was the one that upset Nod and made Nod take his jacket off.
That's right.
An epic moment in
Okay.
StarCraft history. By the way, they were showing the medal tally of golds. Of course, INnoVation has 3, Zest has 2. That means that this group, for the entire history of Code S, this group has like something like 13% of the, or 14% of all Code S champions, like all the championships. That's That's huge. This is a hard group when you look at it in that way.
We are going to start things off in this best of 3 on the map Catalyst. This is INnoVation versus Leenock.
GSL Season 1, Code S, Daybreak.
All right.
INnoVation.
Man, I'm excited about this. Pyeongchang was such a great tournament. Having 2 of those competitors here, having INnoVation here, Leenock, someone who's already done some upsets. StarCraft 2, of course, in a great spot right now.
Titan EX1, Leenock.
We've seen, like, you know what I really liked about Pyeongchang as well? And not just that it was so international and Scarlett won and all that, but, like, there was such a diversity of strategies. How many different strategies did we see? Like, almost, it was crazy how many different ones.
It really expressed the full range of different play styles. To what you were saying just a little bit earlier, Artosis, I totally agree. Life is good right now. We just got done with IM Pyeongchang. Scarlett's here in the round of 16, along with these other great players like INnoVation and IM Katowice. Is it Katowice or Katowice?
Katowice? That's closer to it than Katowice, but
we'll have
sure
to make sure we've got that down before we go to the tournament. But that's just around the corner as well.
And still can't say it. I don't hold out.
It's not as hard as whenever there's a tournament in Youngkapin or Youngshipping or Youngkapukshiping, or I've heard it said so many ways. Yeah. Even when I'm down there, that I start to get really insecure about whether or not I'm saying it right. Yeah. But of course, we have a ton of great tournaments that have just passed, ones that are happening now, and ones that are coming up.
Of course, GSL, round of 16. This is where it really heats up. And the thing is, the round of 32 was actually quite good. We did have some great upsets. We had some great games in there. But generally, you know, it's like the top, let's say, 16, 17, 18 players, something like that, are like really better than the other players, you know? So we sometimes get those one-sided games. But at this point, like, we're like, yeah, I think INnoVation is going to get out of here. And, you know, other than that, who knows?
I'm looking. Scarlett's actually still getting her gear set up. I was wondering how much she's going to be trying to monitor this game firsthand, just to try to get a read on INnoVation. As I would say, he is probably the biggest obstacle for her going into this group.
Well, I think that No Regret, you know, he's here. He helps her out as much as he possibly can, and I have no doubt that he is sitting there watching these games for her. I feel like she should be just kind of focusing on playing against Zest. You know, don't think about this right now. If you beat Zest and you play INnoVation that next round, or if Leenock somehow wins and you lose to Zest and you play him, let someone like No Regret that's here in a somewhat coaching way, right, come to you and say, okay, these are the builds that he opened with. This is how he looked good today. This is how he looked bad today. That's, you know, it's such a useful thing and something that, you know, is going to give her an edge if he helps her out in that way.
Okay, 2 Hellions and Reaper coming up now. Looks like they will be able to get at least in between where the third and second base are. And Leenock, I have to say, some of these moves here by INnoVation are actually quite ambitious. Not just what we saw right back there, but when the Reaper jumped up and tried to chuck a nade up there. Any additional damage that's on those Hellions is pretty permanent, unless he sends them all the way back across the map and repairs them, in which case then they're not doing what they're supposed to do anyways, which is try to drive back creep tumors.
Well, he does bring it back, actually, and repairs them.
I know.
So there you go. And, yeah, I mean, more Hellions on the way, a Liberator on the way here as well. But, you know, the one thing I do like is when you do something like take out the first creep tumor, that's like the most expensive creep tumor of the entire game. Do you know what I mean? It's like killing a drone early. Killing a creep tumor early is very similar.
That's actually a good point, because it takes away so much of the momentum, when really your goal right now is to try to connect the second base and third base.
Yeah.
Okay, we see INnoVation now coming up, and this is actually completely unguarded. Whoa!
Oh my god, there's 7 roaches on the way, and that was actually a great evolution chamber to try to block those from running through, but they go into the main base here, chasing down these drones. Oh my god! They're lining up!
Now to 11 kills, and I don't think that number's going to be slowing down. 14, and we definitely will have 15 with still more volleys available from the Hellions. I have to say, the moment...
Oh my god.
Okay, so 19 kills total. I have to say, the moment that INnoVation even saw the drone move where it was going to plant the evolution chamber. He had already gone up the ramp.
Yeah.
And I think even Leenock was not expecting INnoVation to react that fast.
You know, this is a heartbreaker as well. He had 7 roaches in production. If those roaches had popped out right before those got there, he'd have been fine. But here we are, INnoVation building 4 bunkers. He is taking this rush so seriously. This counterattack has to do something.
This is an awkward position because the Liberator can't really be used unless it's put in a stationary position, which is quite good against the Ravager Corrosive Biles, but it seems like he's actually handling it very, very well. Ideally, if the Liberator wasn't here, he'd be Corrosive Biling the bunkers. So I think in a very funny way, this is actually possibly going to work out for him in the long run.
Oh my God, forces a cancel on that command center, so good move by Leenock. INnoVation somehow, someway keeping the Liberator alive, gets a siege tank out on the high ground. We don't see anything to spot that due to the early Viking that pushed out the Overlords. There is one coming down. That's going to allow Leenock to have a chance here to blow up that siege tank.
Oh my gosh!
What?
I think that was a misclick because
it must have been.
Some of those were on the bunker. It might have been actually not just a misclick, maybe actually just a miscalculation on how much damage was going to be distributed out there because he got neither the bunker or the Liberator. And this Liberator is still in this game. This is the MVP, so he's going to send this back now, try to repair it up. The Overlord, I believe, just north of our screenshot here, should have vision available for the Ravagers. Well, he's not moving it yet, but it should. If he wanted to, he would have vision to gun down the tank. I think Leenock's
the rush is over.
Bungling this rush multiple times here. I think there was 3 different moments the Liberator could have been picked off.
Yeah. We saw him actually bile it 3 times, 3 distinct times, and every time it barely didn't die, which is weird. Like, you don't normally see that being like the mistake.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, I'm not really completely sure about how that occurred for Leenock, but that's kind of a heartbreaker. It feels like maybe he could have had a bit more momentum, done a bit more damage if he had picked that off the first time or the second time. You know, the third time, that's just salt in the wound. Will he get that one?
Yep. That's what revenge looks like. Don't know if it's going to be enough, even though both the Viking and the Liberator were taken out. I think Leenock really investing a lot into trying to bust down his opponent. Do you think the Lings saw that pickup?
No.
They were just out of range then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do those see him? There we go.
So he should know, assuming he's watching.
Yeah. You know, the one thing that we can say that's positive about the rush is it did cancel the 3rd CC, but that doesn't make up 19 drones dying, nor does it make up for, you know, the combination of 19 drones dying plus that much income put into the attack that he did. So I'm definitely still worried here for Leenock. He's going 1-1 for his Roaches right now and his Ravagers. They are out of position. This drop hitting that main base looks like the Lings maybe didn't see it, even though
the target firing is real. And I think that the majority of the drones are going to be gunned down here. And I actually don't think really that if INnoVation controls this correctly, he's going to lose much of anything.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times INnoVation is so good at dropping and shooting down all the correct units in the exact perfect order and getting out that I'm having a hard time imagining a game where Leenock is actually going to stabilize off of this, because one thing we know for sure with INnoVation is that this is not going to slow down.
Yeah.
Momentum is already building up, and I think with all these Ravagers being made right now, I think Leenock wants to try to go into plan B here and be super aggressive, and already the fact that INnoVation is this aggressive, there's not going to be any surprises here. It still may be tough for INnoVation to grapple with that many Ravagers, but now he at least has confirmation. We see bunkers going down as well as siege tanks in a good position and a healthy amount of Marines.
Well, the pressure that he's put on, he's really not only done a lot of damage, but figured out what Leenock is up to, and we see that really underlined by the amount of bunkers he's making, how defensively he's kind of playing. Even though he's poking a bit and keeping Leenock busy, you know, as long as he does not die to this set of units that Leenock has right now, there's no great transition here for Leenock. How does, as we get higher and higher in supply, these Roaches and Ravagers are going to be worth less and less?
Yeah, Roach Ravager doesn't really pan out that well in the late game, which a lot of times what the Zerg's trying to do is fine, but the way this game is starting to look, in fact, I think there's nothing really to defend this main.
Yeah.
So critical damage is going to be dealt here once again first for Leenock. Of course, these units can't defend back at home. In fact, maybe INnoVation has 2 spread out. I mean, that's a lot of different drops. Even with this many tanks, I think a lot of Corrosive Biles could do some damage. Let's see.
Yeah, let's see how he hits these Biles, really. Coming up through this choke point, those Marines really keeping all the Ravagers back. Look at that. They're all stacked up. So much damage being dealt to Leenock's army.
I'm wondering, though, if there's too many tank volleys that are getting off.
Yeah.
I mean, the small number of Marines and Marauders with the medevacs. This is, I think, a manageable position, especially... Oh, there it is, GG.
Yeah.
I can't blame Leenock for trying that. I'm not surprised, though, that it didn't work based off the events that happened throughout the course of that game with INnoVation just doing too much damage.
Yeah. The initial Hellion run-in, 19 drones that early in the game when you switched into Roach production, and then your Roach attack doesn't really do much other than force a heavy defense and cancel a command center. That was almost a nail in the coffin, but INnoVation continually dropping, getting extra damage done. Leenock never quite in position from that point forward. INnoVation just kind of leaning on him, you know? Once you do that much damage as INnoVation, you feel like you have the game won with mechanics as good as he has.
So, going into game number 2, what exactly does Leenock need to do? It seems like he had intentions of doing a Ravager push early on, but I think really the moment that INnoVation came in there and did that much damage with his Hellions, I think it was it 19 drones?
19 drones.
19 drones killed off. Really, the wind is already taken out of the sails for Leenock. It's not like he's going to have a robust attack after that. I think we're going to have to see a healthier opening for Leenock at the bare minimum if he's going to win game number 2. But it's hard, man. Nobody plays like INnoVation.
No, that is true. No one can.
GSL Season 1, Code S, Daybreak. INnoVation.
1-0 right now. Just a very solid game out of him. It's kind of the way INnoVation is.
Yeah. He looks just so strong back there.
Titan EX1, Leenock.
You know, it's funny because with Leenock, even though I think we're all aware of sort of where he's at in StarCraft 2, it is incredible that he's been in this many GSLs for this long. I think it's easy sometimes, if you watch a lot of GSL, to start to get dismissive of the people that die off in the round of 32, and really that means you've consistently been the top 32 StarCraft 2 players in the world for basically since the beginning. Leenock's been in so many GSLs. If he's not in one, it's weird.
Yeah, that's he's definitely like a mainstay. Will we ever see greatness out of Leenock once again? Right, this guy is someone who got second place in a Code S to Jockji.
A lot of people don't remember that.
Yeah. Who's that?
Who's that? Oh my goodness. It's the best smile in StarCraft 2. Where are his headsets, though? How's he going to get our great analysis, man?
Yeah, he doesn't want
Roddy,
any
well, he watches this. He's going to get a little bit dumber if he has our voices in his ears. Always good to have Roddy down here in the studio.
Yeah. Great to have him in Korea, just staying over a couple days after Pyeongchang. So many people down here. Big who's who. StarCraft, having, of course, some Blizzard folks, Tim Morton, as we saw before.
As well as the regular non-Korean suspects. No regret, Scarlett down here, too.
Yeah. We saw Eggs down here. He came down.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
So,
another Pyeongchang player.
That's right. So now we're waiting to see... Oh, hold on. So you guys are going to be able to deny the third? Yeah, because he can block the hatchery. So, forced moment. Yeah, I thought he was going to get that, too.
Not as good as that Reddit clip, is it?
No, not as good. So when you're watching that back there, he was going to be able to body block the hatchery, but if he had gotten up just close enough to touch the extractor, he would have blocked that, too, and the drone would have died, which would have been pretty cool.
Yep.
But instead, the third hatchery is going to be planted, albeit a little bit later than Leenock would have ideally wanted.
Few Lings down here, checking to see if that Marine was going to overcommit. Of course, the Reaper coming back to make sure nothing's going to happen. Just solid play here out of INnoVation. I do want to point out here, once again, he's going for... this is something I've talked about a lot with INnoVation in the past. If he's playing a Zerg that he views himself as better than, and here's the thing, INnoVation chose Leenock as his first opponent, right? So, make no mistake, he may respect Leenock's skill, but he thinks he's a much better player.
This is what makes the round of 16 very interesting, is if you're going to get out of the round of 16 and upset, you have to really surprise everybody, including your opponents.
Yeah, and look, the build order that he's going for, if you just kind of go for a Reaper expansion, right? You make a Marine out of this as well, and you go into Reactored Hellions and a Starport, you can stop everything. There are possibilities to stop every single thing that Zerg is doing, basically. Like, you're going to get good scouting intel, you have the right units out, that you should be all right. So that's kind of what we see here from INnoVation. And doing this build, I'm like just not surprised at all, you know? He's almost very predictable in this way.
Okay, now that the Link threat has been dealt with, the Hellions can come back out. Now let's not forget in game 1, the Hellions did way more damage than I think most of us were expecting. Also, INnoVation a lot of times doesn't dive into locations and commit. He tends to sometimes keep the Hellions back and really try to play a control game. But that last game, he just saw the opening and went for it.
Oh, let's see if he's going to go for that again here. 6 Hellions and a Reaper. It's definitely a fearsome force. Queens are kind of patrolling around. A few Banelings out, some Speedlings being added as well. There's definitely some ways in that damage could be dealt, but you have to be careful. If he comes up and surrounds those Hellions, kills those off, your map control is gone as INnoVation.
The Hellions continuing to loop out. I'd say overall the creep spread a lot healthier this time around. Nice interception there at the ramp. INnoVation did not have confirmation there was nothing there. So good job on both sides. INnoVation bouncing off of that right away. And it looks like he's, I think, flirting with the idea of trying to push in, but thinks otherwise.
Yeah, you see 3 Queens there, a decent creep spread, good awareness. The Speedling's kind of on top of a ramp.
Yeah.
These are the hallmarks of a Zerg that's defending correctly, and I think it's smart that INnoVation does not push in right now. And Leenock definitely off to a better start because of the way that this early game has gone. He hasn't lost 19 drones yet.
that's a real positive spin you have on that. Look, honestly, Leenock's got a, I'd say, a much better, healthier position. So he should be able to do at least what he's planned on doing. Unlike, I think, in the last game where he was, he took an arrow to the knee really early on. And it was an uphill fight from there. And INnoVation, generally, if he gets a leg up on you early on, it's pretty hard to recover.
I like that arrow.
Why are you laughing at that? Arrow to the knee?
Yeah. Wasn't that like a meme from that? What was that video game called? Skyrim.
Was it? I don't know. I just remember In Control would say it all the time, and I thought it was pretty funny.
It's like a Skyrim meme, I'm pretty sure. Anyways.
I think with this next drop coming out, that's where we're going to see really how good Leenock's defense is, because losing too many drones early on to Hellions is sort of unacceptable, but INnoVation, even against the very best players in the world, this style specifically, he has won games off of just having such good exchanges.
Look at that. The Link's following him. He tries to drop off, but Leenock kind of on top of things at the moment. By the way, going into Aspire, this is definitely something that we've seen popping up again because everyone's making siege tanks to counter Hydroling Bane. But siege tank's not as good when you're going Mutalisks, so let's see if Leenock can actually pull this one off.
Yeah, it seems a lot like with the Muta play, it's almost like a reinvention of some earlier styles we saw in Heart of the Swarm. Now, hold on, here it is. The first big attack, and that's what I'm talking about. Who really came out on top there? INnoVation by a lot.
Yeah.
Taking out both those Queens, I think losing only 1 Marine.
That's significant.
We've seen several games where he does this 3 or 4 times, just coming in, engaging, and pulling back out. And by the end, he's like way ahead.
Now, he certainly does not know about these mutas, I would say. He's still making siege tanks. We see a Marauder being... Oh, the Marauder's fine because it can tank Banelings and all that, but generally against the mutas, you might make a Thor or 2, but you definitely want some Widow Mines out there. And in fact, this fell out of, popularity in a lot of ways because of how good Widow Mines can be against this style, because of the less larva that you really get. But now with these mutas out and him not really being ready, not automatically countering this because it's not as common, I feel like that gives Leenock some really good room to play here. Actually, he's got 4 bases, he's got great creep spread.
This could actually be pretty bad because these medevacs don't necessarily get back home okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to see right now. If the mutas can get at the right angle and the medevacs don't have the boost, then, yeah, look at this. He's got to pull back around. Now, this is a pretty cool juke move here because if he gets enough unloaded here, then he can pick up a good number of the Marines. But I actually don't... Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was wrong. He actually does have enough to get that out, but this is eventually cleaned up. So, big victory there for Leenock. With this style of play, Zerg stays at the tier 2 tech for a lot longer and ends up getting just so much muscle on the map that Terran ends up losing fights. So if Terran doesn't execute everything perfectly, it's pretty bad for them. And already Leenock now boosted up in supply. I think Leenock should be ready. I guess all dependent on both players' control. Leenock should be ready for a push from INnoVation.
The only thing I'm afraid about here for Leenock, because I really like so many things about his play this game, and I like the fact for him that INnoVation has so many siege tanks, which are not going to be as useful. They're still useful. They can hit banelings and all that. But just the fact that 2-2 is about to be finished for INnoVation, there is going to be a little window here where he might have to fight 1-1 against 2-2.
Okay, 2-2, 10 seconds away from finishing, and INnoVation already getting a pretty dominant position here. He'll have control of this ramp, so he should be able to set up siege tanks. Oh, as I say that, he actually turns. It looks like he's already aware that a counterattack is probably the choice that Leenock would go for due to the position INnoVation is coming in. INnoVation is going to come in and try to sandwich that right now.
Ooh, these Lings are all 1-1 fighting against this 2-2. The Marauders tanking so much, and you can really see that upgrade difference right there. The Mutas and Lings having to turn around. But you know what? The 5th base has not been canceled here for Leenock, and normally the point of contention is the 4th base when you're fighting against Mutaling Bane.
We should be seeing INnoVation's army snaking around the map, trying to make sure to intercept Leenock's army at every pass, and then eventually get a dominant position and crush through some of these bases. Leenock's control looking very good. Let's see what these banelings at the very top center that were being morphed, where they go, because Leenock does not, or INnoVation does not have a exposed 4th base to kill SCV, so I guess it is just going to be used for this attack here.
Well, he does have his 2-2 now coming up, trying to get a big strong. Look at that number of banelings. The Muta's getting on top of everything as well. Oh my god, Leenock just slaughtering through this army. A ton of banelings left over as well.
And this is what we were talking about earlier, where in this style, where you're on tier 2 for a while, the number of Lings, banelings, and Mutalisks you can have, it sometimes doesn't matter how properly the Terran macroed up. You just have too much. And this puts INnoVation in a very awkward position. Now, that being said, you end up spending a lot of units every time you attack. Even if we win the fight, you did spend a lot of gas to win the fight. And that's one of the reasons why the Zerg ends up staying on this tech for a while. And you could see that after the attack was done, INnoVation's still ahead in supply. And this is actually almost too many banelings to lose on the retreat.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot of damage done. Leenock overcommitting after chasing down some of those medevacs, but I like where Leenock is transitioning to. He lost his Mutas, he's going into Corruptors as is Anti-Air from here, continuing to upgrade his Ling Bane, but I don't see an Ultralisk Cavern yet, which he's definitely going to have to get into.
I think that he's going to be stuck in a weird position where he's transitioning tech, and I think Leenock, already so aware of that, is actually evacuating the drones. So he should lose this base to the left of our screen and the one above it.
Yeah.
Which is definitely bad here for Leenock. Well, it's great that he got the drones out, but this is an uncomfortable position for Zerg. I think Zerg might have to shift expanding down to the bottom center.
Yeah, you could be right about that. He does have that base set up. That was like his 5th base. That top left could be killed, but actually he's forcing INnoVation to turn around. So still a chance that Leenock can get some drones to the top left here. But we need to see more tech. Oh my gosh, look at this. He's actually going into Greater Spire. I was not expecting this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually thought maybe he was going to do, when I saw the Corruptors and the fact that the push is already coming out, I don't think he can actually do anything but that.
Well, it's cool that he's going for that. It wasn't what I was expecting at all, but if he can make a good fat amount of Broodlords, like, let's say he has 10 Broods with Ling Bane under it, you can definitely fight against this army.
One thing to note, though, is that if he does go for the Broodlords, because the Zerg's so spread out, I really feel like there's positions where INnoVation could just push where the Broodlords are not.
Yeah.
And there's not a very clear answer for what Leenock's supposed to do against that. So INnoVation is looped back down. He's taken this expansion out. I think he's actually going to try to drive himself into the 2nd base here and start killing the tech, because then it's no longer a game of how many expansions Zerg has. Zerg has to hold one specific position, and it seems like Leenock is planning for a push into the 3rd, but I would not be surprised if INnoVation dives in on the 2nd. We don't have. Sorry, there have been no Broodlords made yet, right?
He's making them right now.
Okay, they just started. Excuse me.
He just killed the Evolution Chamber that was almost done, plus 3 carapace.
Yeah,
that is bad. Like 3-3 is so crucial at this point. INnoVation has had 3-3 for a while. Leenock has been working towards it. Look, that's his. Oh my God. Okay, he gets the +3 melee, so at least he gets that, but that air pace upgrade's so important.
Okay, I think the Medivacs and the Thor are going to see the Broodlord speed made.
Yeah, the
and
Thor's...
this should actually trigger INnoVation to push somewhere. He can't just hold his ground here. Actually, you know what? Maybe you can, because there's almost no Broodlords with that army. I guess in reality, the number of Broodlings that are coming out don't really do that much. Big win here, though, for Leenock. However, the pressure is much more on him to try to deal with this and deal with him quickly.
The Broodlord's doing what they can. Lings and Banelings going under these Liberator zones, and it looks like he'll clean up this army just about, but has he taken too much damage?
Well, it's funny because, let's hear, Leenock's on 5 bases. I think he just reclaimed the one that's, this one right here, that's now being attacked. But INnoVation's just on 4 bases. Their supplies are even. So, kind of an odd situation that we have for this game around here is like the reset button has been hit. When the dust settles, it seems like they're just going to have to start macroing up again.
Yeah, I really want to see an Ultralisk Cavern. I know that Leenock doesn't have the biggest economy, but we see INnoVation like hard countering Broodlords right now. He's adding 2 more Starports. He's continuing to make Thors. And, I mean, things like Vikings and Thors, well, they don't really fare that well against the Ultralisk. So I feel like that could be nice with these crazy melee upgrades that he has.
I think that's why the Ultralisk tech can be so strong, is after you force them to address air, you then reforce a Terran to address ground again. And Terran units are a little bit trickier to try to throw away efficiently. If that, I know it sounds like a weird way to put it, but to try to come in here and have some of those units drop down so that your supply is reduced while still having an efficient trade.
Yeah.
Unless it's a drop.
Well, he's made a lot more broods. He did just get the Ultralisk Cavern as well, so we'll see if he can transition to that. This many broods, though, will force a ton of Vikings out of INnoVation. So we could see like a brutal tech switch, but Leenock has to do something strong with this army first.
Dude, I will tell you, man, if he can actually push through here, Leenock can.
Yeah.
He will also get this base just to the right of this. I think there may be, am I wrong? Are there too many Vikings?
There's a lot
actually,
of Vikings, but he has a good amount of Corruptors here.
Yeah.
The Banelings detonating there.
Wait a minute, weird twist here. The Marines get underneath, so they win the fight instead. GG!
Wow.
That game ended a lot faster than I thought it was. I thought we had a good 5-10 more minutes there, but you know, when you lose that Corruptor Broodlord army, what do you really have after that?
Yeah, it was rough. Like, Leenock made a lot of good moves. I like strategically how he tried to play this game, but INnoVation is so on top of things. Like, when Leenock lost those Banelings running away, INnoVation kind of rotated down and just took out one of his mining bases, right? And he kept that pressure on. He got rid of that +3 carapace. That's kind of a big deal. He had enough Vikings when that big Broodlord push came. Leenock needed some value out of that to successfully transition with that low of an economy into Ultras.
We are going to a short break. We come back, Zest versus Scarlett in day 1 of the round of 16 in the GSL Code S.